Hey folks, how's it going? It's Game Webcam. Yes, my voice has finally gotten a lot better. It's definitely recovered. Now I can speak normally. But, as I said in my previous video, I said that I was going to be making a video talking about why I'm moving to Linux. And that is because within the past few days, I've actually managed to dual boot Manjaro Linux with my Windows 10. Now, I actually had to reinstall Windows 10 yesterday, which involved me having to completely wipe everything from my hard drive in order to install, but I reinstalled Manjaro after getting Windows 10, and now I'm here. So the main reason why I am moving to Linux to begin with is because I'm just getting fed up with Windows as an operating system. And that is personally coming from me, who has been using Windows almost all my life. And here's the thing, I'm no stranger to Linux. Like, I've known about Linux for years. Like, I've noticed Ubuntu in, like, the mid-2010s, okay? I just never really found an incentive for the longest time to move to Linux. And that was until recently. So, if you've probably seen in some of my videos that I made in the past few months, you've been noticing that I have been using Windows 11, the upcoming operating system by Microsoft, which will be the newest Windows operating system to replace Windows 10. And of course, Windows 11 offers a ton of conveniences. I'm not going to go over all the changes here because I'm pretty sure I can't name them all off the top of my head, and I'm pretty sure there's somebody who would be more qualified to explain those differences. But one thing that does change from Windows 10 to 11 is the requirements that are needed to upgrade to the operating system. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are annoyed at Windows 11 for the TPM 2.0 and the secure boot requirements. I'm pretty sure those are two requirements that a lot of people are getting really annoyed at, because obviously if you custom built a computer, like somewhat recently, most CPUs at the time did not come with a firmware TPM method, so you have to buy a separate little TPM chip. Now, of course, I know a lot of people are saying, well, just check the BIOS, just enable TPM in the BIOS. But here's the thing, I don't have firmware TPM in my BIOS. My CPU is not that recent enough to have a TPM in the firmware. So I actually was one of those people who ended up having to get one of those little TPM chips that you just simply put onto the motherboard and get it working. Now, fortunately, I was very quick enough to get the TPM chip before the scalpers got their hands onto it, and I managed to get my TPM chip for a solid 15 to 20 bucks. Now I can go into Windows 11. But here's one other thing that Microsoft did while I was ordering that TPM chip. They also began to impose a CPU requirement. Now, for Intel processors, the requirement is that your Intel processor be 8th gen or later. Now, I can't run Windows 11. This is the one requirement that makes me not able to run Windows 11, because I run a Core i7-6700K, which, if you are not too familiar with CPU names, that is a 6th gen Intel processor. So even if Microsoft was going to give the pity points to those who were on the 7th gen, that would only apply to my laptop, my school laptop, which does run a 7th gen processor. My main computer still would not have been able to run Windows 11. Now, fortunately, I was able to bypass this requirement by going onto the Insider program and sticking to the dev channel and installing Windows 11 that way. That's how I was able to access Windows 11 despite not having a sufficient CPU. But now that's all starting to change. As I said in my previous video, Microsoft is now starting to kick out insiders of the program who do not meet those hardware requirements that they've mentioned a few months ago. Now again, to be fair, they did tell us that if you do not meet the hardware requirements, once it gets close to release, we will kick you off of the Windows Insider program. But to be honest, I just think it's totally, considering that I'm not even going to be able to run the operating system that I have beta tested for and reported bugs, it's kind of tragic, honestly, and I really was upset about this. Now, I was upset about the hardware requirements for weeks on end, but this is something that also gravely pissed me off because I really enjoyed using Windows 11, and it sucks that I can't even use Windows 11. Now, I'm pretty sure for those of you who are saying, oh, well, there's the ISO file, why don't you download the ISO file? Well, Microsoft just gives a big you to those who download the ISO file by essentially not giving you the necessary feature updates or security updates, for that matter, when you use Windows 11. So if you have, so let's say there's some big vulnerability or malware that's going around, well, I'm fucked. I can't install any security update that Microsoft offers because I'm on an ISO. So, considering that if I wanted to continue using Windows 11, it would be on an insecure operating system, and that honestly wasn't going to cut it for me. So, I personally thought it was just more beneficial to downgrade to Windows 10 and continue receiving security updates rather than continuing to use a newer operating system where I don't receive any security updates, because I think security updates matter more than anything. But anyways, this frustration of me getting kicked out of Windows 11 and all that sort of stuff, that is what gave me the push to move me to Linux. Now, I've actually been looking at a few Linux distributions for a while. I've been looking at some of the newer kids on the block, such as Pop OS, Elementary OS, Zorin. I've known Zorin for a while, but it's kind of only recently gaining more popularity, and Manjaro Linux. Now, I obviously chose Manjaro Linux, and the main reason why I chose Manjaro Linux is because I kind of find Arch Linux quite interesting. Using Arch Linux, you know exactly what is on your computer. You know exactly what you're installing and everything. Now, of course, considering that I'm new to Linux, going straight into Arch Linux is probably not a good idea, because I've actually tried using Arch Linux, and oh boy, I was struggling. So I decided to go with a slightly more user-friendly option of Arch Linux that still maintains a lot of that user-centricness, but just making it a little more user-friendly by having things more set up for you. And that's what Manjaro Linux accomplishes. I obviously went through the painstaking, tedious task learning how to actually install an actual Linux distro on a computer. I would say that took about 6 to 7 hours maybe, trying to figure out how everything worked. And the main hindrance of me installing Linux was the fact that I wasn't even booting on a UEFI version of the live USB. I was using a legacy version, so that's kind of what stopped me. But that was the first time I've installed Manjaro Linux, but obviously that had to get wiped because, of course, I had to downgrade to Windows 10. And for some reason, Windows 10 makes you have to wipe the entire hard drive of literally everything if you want to install Windows on that drive. And I personally think that's just kind of stupid, but nevertheless, I had to wipe my first installation of Manjaro to get Windows 10 onto my computer. But no worries. Shortly after that, I managed to get Manjaro onto my computer again, and this time it took like, what, maybe 10 to 20 minutes, considering now I knew how to install Linux and set it up properly. But I should probably be talking about how my Linux experience is going right now. And I gotta say, so far, Manjaro Linux has actually been a pretty smooth experience so far. Within the first few hours of using Manjaro, I already felt like I was at home. And in fact, I'm actually recording this video on Manjaro right now. So here is my Manjaro desktop right here. So as you can see, I have my OBS here. I configured my OBS to make sure it's a lot like how I configured OBS on Windows. So that's how that is going right now. I'm able to see Discord. Of course, the Brick Hill Discord server being the degenerate pricks they are. This is a little weird. So I'm currently using the XCFE desktop environment. I might be switching up the C and the F. I keep switching up the C and F, but I'm using the XFCE desktop environment. So whenever I try to move something onto my second monitor, and then I try to like pin it somewhere on the on the monitor, sometimes I accidentally go too far to the right and it switches desktops. So, and now I'm on the second desktop for whatever reason. So, I'm still getting used to this desktop environment, but I will say I did try out all three of the desktop environments before installing Manjaro, and KDE honestly looked the best, but the software that the KDE version of Manjaro had was so far behind. Like, I couldn't even get a proper version of Wine through the KDE Manjaro, so I just decided that the KDE Manjaro was a no-go. But honestly, if it were for the outdated software, though, I probably would have chosen KDE Plasma, but I decided to go with XCFE instead, because it's sort of like KDE in a way, but of course there are some few differences, and I personally think it's a good compromise. Now, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of you who like GNOME or GNOME, and yes, I did try the GNOME 40 experience, and I did somewhat enjoy it, although I will say searching for programs on GNOME is a little confusing, because you don't search for programs on GNOME. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to just use the launch pad, and you're supposed to search for your programs there, which I get is quite useful for a mobile device or a tablet, but I personally don't want that as my PC experience. That's the one thing that really steered me away from GNOME. I've obviously modified the experience a little so that way I don't show those stupid Windows labels, because I personally don't like having my taskbar to look like Windows XP. And trust me, that's not a diss at Windows XP. I think it's a perfectly good operating system for the time. It's just, I don't think it's a good operating system for modern times. But yeah, I managed to get that. I managed to get XCFE to a somewhat workable state that I'm comfortable with, and yeah, that's how that's going. One thing I probably will not be getting when I sort of main Linux is Photoshop. And that is because, you know, Adobe being the high-end corporate asses they are, I don't think they probably will be having Photoshop for Linux. Actually, let me check to see if Photoshop can run on Linux. Maybe I have to use Wine. So, as you can see from a simple Google search, Photoshop does not natively run on Linux. You will have to use Wine in order to run Photoshop, so that's gonna be a downfall for making thumbnails. But there is, I know the photo editor for Linux, though. It's called GIMP. GNU image manipulation program. So I know this is the default photo manipulation software for Linux. It's GIMP. Now, I have actually used GIMP in the past. That was actually the program that I did use before moving to Photoshop because I was a broke ass back then and wasn't able to get the Creative Cloud suite. But it seems like I'm now going to be making a return to GIMP if I want to make my thumbnails on Linux. To be honest, I think this is a very good thing, though, because I do want to get off of the Creative Cloud because I only have 1 more year left of using the Creative Cloud, and after I graduate from college, yeah, so is my Creative Cloud subscription is going to be gone, and I don't want to pay a single penny to Adobe because I don't want to buy software I can't truly own. Now, of course, I have pre-configured Manjaro a little bit. I have watched a few videos on how to configure a Manjaro Linux. So obviously, I do have my PAMAC. I do make sure wait, why am I using worldwide mirrors? What the fudge cake? Yeah, there we go. Use local mirrors. But I do have the Arch user repository along with Flatpak and Snap enabled, so that way I can get the widest selection of apps available for Linux. But there's one app in particular that really stood out to me, and that is TimeShift. So for those of you who don't know what TimeShift is, imagine it as Linux's system restore. So if I do somehow manage to screw up this Manjaro operating system, which has happened once actually, because I enabled some stupid solid-state drive optimization that a lot of these Manjaro people recommend, and what that did was it kind of messed up how my desktop was displayed. So basically it was split down in the middle for some reason, and it would just basically not show any of my desktop icons. It wouldn't show me my context menus, and I tried fixing it, but I only just made more damage to the operating system. But fortunately I did have a backup in TimeShift, so I was like, you know what, this operating system is fucked. Let me just restore with TimeShift. So it did save my ass once, and this is a very useful program to have. As you can see, it made a backup today, which is very nice. So if I do screw up something within the next hour or something, I could definitely back up to this snapshot, and I'll be good as new. I do have my Brave browser right here. I installed a few extensions, local CDN. Make sure I don't have CDN, make sure CDNs don't track me. It has better coverage than decentralize. I know a lot of people like to refer to decentralize, but local CDN gets better coverage. Obviously, I have Dark Reader because considering that my entire operating system is pretty much dark mode everything, it makes sense that I have my browsing experience be in dark mode as well. It could be nighttime. It could actually be nighttime right behind me, and trust me, this room gets really dark when it is nighttime, but it, in fact, is so dark that I could actually use this operating system without the need to even turn a light on. Like, that's how good the dark mode for this operating system is. So, and Dark Reader is only just here to help assist with that experience. But of course, I know Brave is not the default browser for every Linux user. I'm pretty sure a lot of you Linux users are looking for Firefox. I'm pretty sure Firefox is the default browser for most Linux operating systems, and I'm pretty sure it's a daily driver for most people. Let's get out of here, please. So, Firefox is my more privacy-intense browser here. Now, of course, I have the same extensions that I've had in Brave. I have my Dark Reader, my local CDN, but I also installed a few more extensions to make sure that websites really cannot track me. such as HTTPS everywhere, which I think I also have on my Brave browser, but I'll make sure to configure Brave to only allow HTTPS links. I also have a canvas blocker, but even then I have a spoofed user agent, so that way websites will think I'm visiting their website on a Windows operating system when in fact I'm not. But I still use Canvas Blocker because it's a popular form of tracking, and I like to throw these stupid websites off. I have Clear URLs, which is an extension that gets rid of tracking tags in links. uBlock, which is just your basic ad block. I'm pretty sure if you've never heard of this extension, you must be living under a rock. And I have Cookie Auto Delete, and this is probably the extension that distinguishes Firefox the most from my Brave browser. Cookie Auto Delete does wonders, honestly. Like, if I were to go onto YouTube right now, as you can see, I will not be signed in at all because it doesn't have any cookies saying that I'm signed in. And I could literally watch any video that I want because this is the YouTube front page This is the YouTube front page that appears to somebody who hasn't actually been on YouTube before, if you get what I'm saying. Because you know how if you watch videos on YouTube, it starts to fine-tune videos more to your liking because of the recommendation algorithm. Well, because of Cookie Auto Delete, I can literally go on a video watching streak all I want, and then I can just simply close off this tab, and within a few seconds, all those cookies are now gone. My watch history, everything, gone. So, and then I can just open up YouTube again, and it'll be the same thing as what I had before. It's the same mainstream experience here. And it's honestly really nice, essentially, because I feel like YouTube's new recommendation algorithm is getting a little too fine-tuned because just a lot of the videos that appear in my recommendation are videos that I'm not particularly interested in, and I feel like YouTube is playing it too safe with the recommendations in their newest version of the recommendation algorithm, and they're not being like their older versions where they were a lot more risky and were recommending videos that were a lot more generic and a lot more heuristic. I'm assuming they're doing that because, of course, they want to protect their ass, but still, it makes the YouTube experience not fun. But yeah, that's basically my browser experience. So, as you probably know, I am a channel that sort of focuses on Roblox/alternative Roblox content. If you click to check out my channel and look at the videos I make, you will see that those are the videos that I make for my channel. I tend to make a lot of Roblox, Brick Hill, Polytoria content, and of course any other alt-Roblox platforms I can get my hands on. When I was using Linux, I've taken into consideration, well, how am I going to be using alt-Roblox platforms with Linux? So let's start off with Roblox. Now, Roblox doesn't have native Linux support, unfortunately. I will be making a separate video talking about Roblox and native Linux support, but one workaround that you can do to play Roblox on Linux is there is a project, there is a GitLab project called Grape Juice. I actually do not have Grape Juice installed on Manjaro right now, so let's actually install it right now. So this is the repository that you want to be referencing when you do decide to get Grape Juice for yourself. Do not use any other repository because you may not know what they're doing behind your back. Even though this is all open source, technically. Before we can get Grape Juice, we need to actually install Wine. And I actually should install Wine because I'm pretty sure Roblox is not going to be the only program that I will have to use Wine for. I'm pretty sure there's going to be many other programs down the line that will require me to use Wine. Let's definitely check in a lot of the optional dependencies, because Wine is definitely one of those programs you do not want to skip out on the optional dependencies, because you want to make sure you have as versatile of you want to make sure that you can run as many programs as possible. Of course, I could always use Pac-Man on the command line. I do know how to use Pac-Man on the command line. I'm not a complete idiot. And I will be installing Grape Juice on the command line, actually, but PAMAC I just personally find it more convenient, so of course that's why I'm using PAMAC. Alright, and that is Wine installed. Alright, so let's head over to the page, and I'm going to just quickly open up a terminal real quick, and I'm going to basically use Yay to get Grape Juice. Alright, so if you don't know what Yay is, it's sort of like Pac-Man in a way. It stands for Yet Another Yogurt, but essentially it allows you to get third-party repositories and all that sort of stuff, and things like from the AUR and all that sort of stuff. Alright, so here we go. Yep, that looks pretty good to me. Yep, there's a bunch of Python, which kind of is surprising. I mean, Yay is written in Go, which is pretty much got some similarities to Python. It's sort of Googleified Python, but take that statement with a grain of salt, because obviously I'm not an expert with Go. Alright, so there we go. We now got Grape Juice installed on our operating system, so let's open up Grape Juice. Alright, so of course, we're not going to use Roblox Studio here. We're just going to simply install Roblox real quick. See, you could just install Roblox with a click of a button. And, dude, that freaking Roblox installer GUI does not look nice, but still. Alright, so now let's go on Roblox. Now, of course, I'm not going to be signing on to Roblox on my actual account just yet, because I still have a bit of an issue trusting Grape Juice at the moment, so for the moment, I'm actually not playing Roblox on my main account, Brutalist. I'm going to be using an alternative account that I made quite a long time ago. Let's launch a Roblox game real quick. Now, I'm not going to pick something fancy or unique. I'm just going to pick any Roblox game, really. So we'll just pick this obby. We're going to use XDG open. And as you can see, we're launching Roblox. Overall, this is actually a pretty good experience of playing Roblox on Linux. It definitely runs, first of all. But as you can see, the first issue that I come across that really makes me not want to play Roblox on Linux is the fact that my mouse gets stuck on the Roblox application. Now, there's two conditions that make this happen. It's when I hold right-click and even look around just the slightest bit, that seems to freeze my mouse in place. Or if I go into first person and even look around a little bit there. Those seem to be two conditions that freeze my mouse in place. Now, in XCFE, what I can do to unlatch the cursor is I can obviously open up that menu, and as you can see, my mouse is now free again. In the GNOME version, though, if you actually try doing that in GNOME, which will open the launch pad, it actually creates another glitch with the Roblox client, where it literally, if you even move just a slight, even if you just move a pixel of your mouse around the screen, it literally makes moving your camera unusable. Like, you absolutely will not be able to continue playing on a Roblox game once you've run into that glitch. And that's, again, one of the main reasons why I did not choose GNOME. Okay, so on my live USB, it had an issue with audio because for some reason, even though I had my headset set as my default audio device, for some reason Roblox was outputting the audio to a speaker that's on my monitor, and I have no idea why it did this at all. It was so freaking weird. The one bug that really makes this unplayable is this stuck mouse. And again, for most of you, that may not seem like a big deal at first, but when you try playing a little more competitively, this mouse getting stuck is going to put you at a huge disadvantage. Like, you're gonna find it annoying really quickly. And this is probably the only reason why I will not play Roblox on Linux, and I will probably be playing Roblox on Windows 10. Wine has definitely come a very long way of actually getting better at making programs more compatible with Linux. It's not emulating because as the Wine acronym stands for, Wine is not an emulator. It's not an emulator. It's a program that essentially goes through an executable and establishes compatibility, and it essentially works as a compatibility layer to make sure Windows programs run on Linux. Now, of course, I don't think this will be too much of an issue with Steam, because Steam has its own compatibility layer program, Proton. I haven't tried gaming on Steam on Linux yet. Again, I'm still quite new to the Linux experience. But yeah, if there's anything that's really stopping me from playing Roblox on Linux, it's this mouse stuck glitch. Like, if they can fix that, though, I would definitely be playing Roblox on Linux from now on. Like, that's a guarantee right there. Like, I would definitely be playing Roblox on Linux. Because, it would just be really nice to not boot to another operating system just so I can play Roblox. But yeah, I think that's enough for, this obby right here, so I'm just gonna X out of that real quick. But yeah, Roblox has an almost seamless experience on Linux now, and that's really nice. But even then, I still think Roblox should try their best and add native support for Linux. Again, I will talk about that in a future video. It won't be coming anytime soon because, of course, there's other videos I want to make, but that's definitely a video that I plan on making in the future. But let's get off of Roblox. Let's focus on some alt Roblox platforms. So, Brick Hill. Okay, so Brick Hill, the current client, I don't think can run on, Linux. But what is promising is their new experimental workshop does have Linux support. And that is very nice, because that possibly means that the new client will have Linux support. And I hope there will be Linux support on the new Brick Hill client, because that would definitely give them an advantage over Roblox. Because Roblox doesn't have native Linux support, but if Brick Hill can definitely get native Linux support, that definitely is tapping into a market that could definitely give them an advantage over Roblox. The only problem, though, that I'm having with launching the workshop, and I swear, with the previous version workshop that I had, I actually was able to run it just fine. But here's the problem. Here's the executable file right here to run the new Brick Hill workshop. So here's the problem. Now, in order to use the Brick Hill workshop, you have to authenticate that you are a Brick Hill user that did buy the new Brick Hill workshop. And, of course, completely understandable. It's a DRM that ensures that you did actually buy the new workshop and you are not pirating it or whatever, and you also can make submissions on behalf of your Brick Hill profile. But here's the thing. In order to authenticate your Brick Hill account to this application, it communicates with the browser to generate some code that it will then send to this application in order to authenticate it. This process, for some reason, in the newest version of the workshop, doesn't work. If you don't believe me, let me show you. So as you can see, it went to my browser. It's generating a code right here. So XDG open right here, which is used to tell the browser, hey, which program do you want to open with this protocol? So you know what? And when I click on that, this happens. Now this is a completely different glitch that I've gotten a few days ago when using the workshop. I got a completely different glitch last time that I tried opening the workshop in this browser, but yeah, that is definitely a huge issue going on right now. There we go. But yeah, I'm really hoping that does get fixed. I did raise an issue for that on the GitLab Brick Hill bug tracker. As you can see, I've already raised an issue on the Brick Hill bug tracker for the new workshop, telling them, hey, I can't seem to authenticate my account when using Manjaro Linux. Could you please fix this? And if you actually are having bugs with the new Brick Hill workshop for yourself, you can actually report issues with the new Brick Hill workshop by using the link right here. And that should definitely take you to the bug tracker, and you can report any bugs there. Hoping that Brick Hill can get this fixed, because I would definitely love to continue working on the workshop on my Manjaro Linux. But for now, I will have to use Windows in order to continue using the workshop. Alright, so I'm downloading the client of Polytoria for Linux, and already I don't think I'm going to be able to run this. And why do I think that's the case? Because the package that it is compressed in when you download the client is .deb. Now, if you don't know what that is a Debian package, which means this probably will not run on Arch or Manjaro Linux at all. It will only run on a Debian-based Linux operating system, such as, well, of course, Debian, Ubuntu, Pop! OS, Linux Mint, etc., etc. Well, I extracted everything that there is from that deb file, so of course there's a lot of that stuff out of the way. You can just delete those. So, I guess let's try to get into a game real quick. Of course, I'm gonna be a shill and play one of my own sets. Yep, this definitely will not run. Of course, it's probably going to take some hours of extensive research to be able to figure out how to launch Polytoria on Manjaro Linux, and the moment I do manage to figure it out, I'll probably be making a tutorial on how to do it. But for right now, if I do want to run Polytoria games, I probably will be sticking to Windows for right now, because Windows is running this a lot more reliably. I think that's all that there really is to show when it comes to Manjaro Linux. Now, of course, I'm still fairly new to Linux. I still am quite new to a whole lot of this, so there is a lot of things that I still have to learn as I'm going along. But the moment that I do manage to know a little bit more about the Linux operating system, I'll probably be making an update video talking about all the things I've learned and what has possibly changed since I made this video. I want to end off this video answering one final question. Will I still be using Windows? I mean, yes, I am using Manjaro Linux and primarily using Manjaro Linux from now on, but will I still be using Windows? And the answer is yes, even though I have Linux as my main operating system now. And of course, the first reason, which should be pretty obvious, is is that not all programs run smoothly on Linux. In fact, I actually tried opening a few video files a few minutes ago on DaVinci Resolve, and it turns out that while it's able to get the audio imported, it does not seem to recognize the video from my video files at all, which is super strange. Hi, this is VoiceOver Game Webcam here. So I want to fill in a little bit about the DaVinci Resolve situation on Linux because after trying to edit the video on DaVinci Resolve for Linux, there's definitely a few more complications that is going to make it a lot harder for me to edit videos on Linux. So the biggest limitation that DaVinci Resolve for Linux has is that unlike the Windows and Mac OS versions of DaVinci Resolve's support for audio and video codecs is incredibly small. It is in fact so small that you can't even open up an MP4 file properly in DaVinci Resolve for Linux. And that is because DaVinci Resolve for Linux doesn't support H.264 video codec, and it doesn't support AAC audio codecs for Linux. Now, I think the reason why it is not supported is because I think DaVinci wants its Linux users to pay for the DaVinci Resolve Studio Edition, because I think the Studio version of DaVinci Resolve is supposed to have the better codec support that allows for video codecs such as MP4, H.264, and all that. However, I do believe that the other reason why H.264 is not on Linux is because of patent. The thing is, even though H.264 is possibly the most popular video codec that you could possibly use for videos, it actually has a patent behind it, and in order to get your software to use that video codec, then you're gonna have to purchase the licenses from somewhere. You don't have to worry about this for Windows and Mac at all, because Microsoft and Apple are multi-billion-dollar companies, so they absolutely have the money to be able to buy and use the software to have H.264 support. But Linux is an open source operating system that's meant to be free, and you can see why this is such a huge problem for Linux. And though I still am a little bit upset that DaVinci Resolve doesn't give us the H.264 support on Linux, so of course I'm editing this video right now on Windows because that is the operating system where I can open MP4 files and be able to edit with them. I'm also hoping that DaVinci Resolve will also add the ability to natively open MKV files because, of course, when I do my recordings on OBS, my videos are outputted to an MKV file format. They do not use MP4 or MOV at all, and that is because MKV is a more open file format that can easily be used, which is why a lot of Linux distributions tend to use MKV. I'm currently writing a bash script right now because thank God my bash knowledge is actually being put to use here, but I'm writing a bash script right now to try and convert any videos that I record on OBS to follow video and audio codecs that DaVinci Resolve for Linux will be able to read and open. So hopefully in the future I will be able to use DaVinci Resolve for Linux, but for right now I think it is most important that I edit my videos on Windows, so that way I could easily have that codec support that I am looking for. I got the audio conversion down so far, but it's just the video portion I'm struggling on a little because I'm trying out various different video codecs that look nice, but at the same time don't look like blurry crap that just reminds you of like a 2009, 2008 YouTube video, which again is quite funny because this channel has been around for so long that I have videos that do come from 2009. But obviously, I don't want to continue making my videos look like they come from 2009. So I'm trying to figure out the video codec, and hopefully if once I do manage to figure out the video codec, I will start transcoding all of my OBS recordings from now on so I can edit my videos in DaVinci Resolve for Linux. Second of all, I might be getting a new computer sometime in the future, depending on when this stupid chip shortage is over. I will try and get my computer upgraded, and hopefully I will be able to run Windows 11. But just because I will be able to run Windows 11 in the future, that doesn't necessarily mean I'll probably be giving up on Linux anytime soon, because I'm already getting a lot more comfortable with using Linux as an operating system. I'm not going to be giving up on Windows though, but I will primarily use Linux though. Alright, that's all I really have to say for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified for any video that I upload in the future. This is Game Webcam, and take care.